Hey, it's Karen and Stephen again. We're making the point. And just as a continuation of our discussion of Project 2025 and what are the perceptions of the people that they are in opposition to, we've been going over some of the characteristics that they would like to attribute to the opposition. And one of them is about indoctrinating children. And those are their words, those are not my words, but I thought that this was a really enormously loaded topic, and people feel a whole bunch of different ways about this. And thought that we would just spend a little bit of time talking about that. Now, I will tell you that as you read through the document, they revisit that in a number of different ways, and frequently it boils down to references to sexuality, most particularly LGBTQ rights and transgenderism. So just to put that premise out there, it's about teaching kids woke ideals, which in this particular case seems to boil mostly down to to two things, to that, and also to discussing America's history with regard to slavery, particularly Jim Crow laws and racism. That they think that is indoctrinating children. So you asked me, just as we were off camera, you asked me an interesting question, which is, how did I feel about parents' ability to have a say in what it is that their kids get taught in school? And my absolutely staunch attitude is no. I mean, if parents were educators, if they knew what was best to teach kids, then they would be freaking teachers. They would be working in the education system. They would be actively participating in parent-teacher conferences. They would be actively visiting the school board and attending all of their meetings. And these are things that I think some parents who are really savvy do. I think there are also some parents who have an agenda and a drum to beat, and they also do it too. But most importantly, I think in terms of what makes a baseline good education system for a community, for a society, I don't want that being dictated to by individual parents who've got nothing better to do than to come out and bitch and moan about what somebody else's kid is learning, or what I don't want my kid learning about that. I don't believe that that's true. I don't want my kid. In my humble opinion, it maybe isn't so humble, but we saw how this worked really clearly when it came to the pandemic shutdown, whereby a ton of kids, almost 2 full years of schooling for underage kids who were not in college, and even at that level, in some cases too, where these are kids who ended up having to go home and be, homeschooled or try and pick up their lessons online. And parents who were not equipped to deal with this did a shit job of it, like a really terrible job. Not to blame them. This is not ever their job. This was never ever meant to be what their responsibility. So when we talk about, parents being the ones to decide what kids learn, I just think that it's a dog whistle. And for me, education does not stop when kids come home from school. If you want your kids to learn specific things, then talk to your kids when they get home from school. Sit down, have a snack with them, ask them how their day was, ask them what they learned, and talk to them about all kinds of things. Spend time with your kids. And this is coming from a position of somebody who has no natural children of my own. I collected stepkids. But I can tell you that because I personally did not give birth to children does not make me stupid, and does not make me not have a salient attitude about education. I don't want to be, living in a society where there's a bunch of dummies running around. I want people to be educated. I want people to know history. I want them to know critical thinking skills. I want them to know how to communicate with each other. I want them to know math. I want them to understand science. I want them to understand civics. I want them to understand all of these things because I think it's super important. It breaks my heart when I see people, um, just consistently using terrible spelling and bad grammar and incapable of communicating in an intelligent fashion with each other. It breaks my heart. It says something really bad about the education system here. And I'm going to tell you, yes, I'm a horrible elitist. I'm from Canada, and the Canadian education system is par excellence. And I'm not going to pretend it's not. It is. It far bakes out American education system, and that's just the way that it is. I'm sorry, it's the way it is.
I have and I've conveyed this to Karen already, I have very big mixed feelings and emotions about how far parents should go to control what their children learn in school. Um, very, very, very strongly conflicted about this. Uh,
Why?
well, there's a big part of me that says that there's a lot of what you said I won't argue with, but then parents who are not educators, quote educators, who are not trained and skilled as educators, they still are I think, again, I'm very conflicted about this. I think they're still the primary teachers of their kids.
They should be.
They should be. I keep going back to, this goes back to maybe beginning of the year, or no, probably, I don't know if it goes back to the pandemic times, but it's after the pandemic for sure. In Virginia, especially, where there are, I remember seeing on TV a number of times groups of parents protesting against what's being taught in their schools to their kids. And I remember seeing a number of Muslim, almost always women, Muslim mothers there. And I thought, this is really interesting and I think cool. These Muslim mothers, I'm sure some of them were native-born Muslims, some were immigrants. Makes no difference to me. They were standing right there with their white neighbors, mothers, neighbors, protesting against the fact that their kids were being taught that it's okay to have 7 genders, 16 different types of genitalia running around in you,
Go ahead. Okay. Those two things, nobody's teaching that.
I know, this is,
but you know what, okay. Because please forgive me,
no,
but this is a tool of propaganda to exaggerate. So, that's not what's being taught. Nobody's talking about 17 different genders. Nobody's talking about, all kinds of different genitalia. No one's saying that. But to acknowledge in school, to acknowledge the fact, the reality that there is transgenderism out there how is that? I mean, if you want to complain as a mother or as a parent, because it's not always mothers, of course, if you want to complain as a parent that maybe children below a certain age should not learn that. Okay, I guess. I mean, I think that it's stupid. because it's stupid. But at least you have a context for why it is that you're complaining about it. But if you're complaining about it because you just think it should never ever be taught, because you think it should not exist, then we have a problem. It's like saying, okay, we're not going to talk about slavery because you know what? I don't like the fact that it existed, and I'm going to pretend that it didn't. So we're not going to teach about that because it's inconvenient. We're not going to teach about climate change because we don't believe in that. And so we're not going to talk about things like alternative energy sources. We're not going to talk about the warming of the planet. We're not going to talk about how things have changed that affect us. The ostrich, stance of education is stupid, and it makes people illiterate. So just teaching, eliminating certain subjects because people don't want that to be true does not make it not true. There are transgender people out there. There really, really are. And you know what? In some of these kids' homes, there are transgender people. In some of their families, there are transgender people. In some of their communities, there are transgender people. And to eliminate any acknowledgement of them, I mean, no one's teaching kids how to become transgender. That's another thing that I hear. It's like indoctrinating them into, oh, well, we're indoctrinating them into being gay or being, just nonsense. That's just absolute horseshit. Pretending that it doesn't exist is just ignorance. It's establishing a baseline of ignorance for children. Acknowledging something is not promoting it. It's not training somebody to be that. It's not, encouraging in any way. It is simply acknowledging. And that's the truth. Having a book in a young person's library that has a character who has same-sex parents should not be banned because there are lots of kids out there with same-sex parents, and it would be nice for them to be able to see themselves in the literature that's being taught at school. Trust me, there's nothing, and you hear people talk about this all of the time, there's nothing more empowering for a young person than to see part of themselves be reflected back at them in what it is that they're learning at school. How many people of color read Toni Morrison for the first time in high school, say, or even before that, and went like, wow, this speaks to me in a way that nothing I've learned up to this point has spoken to me. It's no different for people of alternate genders, and historically, and I'll bring the receipts next time we speak about, because we're going to have a conversation about transgenderism. Stephen it does not believe that that's a thing, and I, of course, acknowledge that yes, it is a thing. And it's not up to me to dictate whether it is or it isn't. But yeah, I'll bring receipts on that one. Because historically, it has been represented throughout history in a variety of different cultures and written about extensively. So that is the example that they always use. I don't want my kid learning about transgenderism. I don't want my kid learning about being gay.
16 genitalia, 13 genders. I was using hyperbole to make a point.
And the point is that that's propaganda.
To reinforce what Karen just attributed to me, I do not believe in transgenderism. I believe that you were born and you will die what you were when you were born. For And I have to thank you for your whatever it was that just went on at the last
My
10
rant?
minutes. No, it's your
That's a
house.
rant.
It's your house, you
That's
know.
my house. We're not
T-shirt,
allowed to
t-shirt,
say this
t-shirt, t-shirt.
anywhere.
No, I thank you for that because it makes me realize, hey, put on your big boy pants and say what you want to say.
Yeah.
I I'm going back to the pictures of those parents, Muslims, Christians, whoever, pre-worshippers, don't give a shit. Um, I gotta say, I'm standing with them. If I were a parent and I did not believe in transgenderism, I'll be damned if I wanted my kids to be uh, taught that that is a viable option in reality. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that at all. Good for those parents who stood there and protested against that. Um, is it possible that I'm wrong? God, yes. I've been wrong more times even today than I like to admit. Could be wrong. Don't think I am. But those people, there's the principal, there are the teachers, there are the educators, there are the the whatever you want to call them, coming from Washington, handing down certain potential, certain possible curricula, etc. And then there's the parents. At the end of the day, the principal, the teachers, the experts, the people from the departments, they all go away, and the parents are left with the kids. I'm sorry, I got to stand with I stand with the parents there. This is not to say that I am. This is so bloody complex. This is not to say that I am advocating um, not teaching this at all, but
But
and
aren't you?
don't give me too. Don't box me in quite yet. Don't box me in quite yet. See, I don't not knowing, not really knowing. Okay, the dynamics of a the school system and what, if any, influence parents have or accepted or as accepted to have uh, influence in what the curriculum is. I'm not sure of that. So here I'm speaking not dogmatically in any way, shape, or form, but as I understand it in my limited understanding of it. Does it mean that if as a parent I am told that, or I find out that in such and such a class, it is going to be taught such and such a thing, and I don't want my kids to hear that. Does that mean that I should ask or demand or whatever that in whatever way, shape, or form, my kids do not have to attend that? Um, I feel conflicted about that. I'll have to admit. I have to admit. But I will come down again on the side of the parents and say, no, I don't want my kids to hear that. I don't want my kids to be taught that. Um, if that makes me a Yahoo from whateverville, I don't give a shit. Really don't give a shit. Those are my kids. Those are not the principal's kids. Those are not the experts' kids. Those are my kids. If it is conceived because of that they will grow up ignorant, well, that's someone else's opinion. I don't want my kids growing up ignorant, but I want my kids, I have a right as a parent to want my kids to grow up believing what I teach them and what I believe. The, the, the kids, the kids don't, okay, it takes a village to raise a kid. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Yes, no, I don't give a shit. These are my kids. In the bottom, when it comes to the very bottom line, Those are my kids. I am responsible for them, not anybody else. These are the people may have grand ideas and ideals, and they may even be true, but these are my kids. And unless I am abusing them and I am doing horrible things to them, they're my kids. And I am not going to stand by and listen to people who think they know better than I do, whatever that means, and say, no, you're ignorant, you're short-sighted, and your kids should be um, made to listen to whatever is available that we, whoever we are, think should be taught them.
So let's step back from transgenderism, okay, and just continue on with the topic. Let's say that this is a health class for teenagers 14 and up. And the boys and the girls are separated, and they are talking about birth control. We know through statistics that unwanted pregnancies in teenagers, teenage mothers in America is enormously higher in areas of the country where sex education is not allowed to be taught or is taught in a very softball way in school. We know this to be true. So what if you are an evangelical parent and you want to raise your children in an evangelical fashion and church is not sufficient and you don't live in a district where there is an evangelical school that you can send them off to, and they have to go to a public school whereby they are going to learn about birth control in class? Do you think that parents have the right to go and protest that that should not be taught? Or do you think it's sufficient for them to simply say, I need to know that this is going to be taught and I'm going to pull my kid from that class?
First of all, I would say that the world is not comprised only of evangelicals. As a good old Catholic boy, there are plenty of Catholics out there who feel exactly the way that evangelicals do. Very many of them.
Okay.
I know some. But in answer to the question, I would say that those parents who believe that way do not have a right to impose their belief that these should not be taught. They have a right to say, my kid's not going to that. That's what I would say.
And that is, in a nutshell, the difference between indoctrination and non-indoctrination. So, from the standpoint, again, back with the Project 2025 folks, they think that offering this kind of information in school, which is basic, societal, health-based issues, everybody understands where the birds and the bees come from, and lots of parents don't want to talk about that.
And let me just interrupt real quick and say, I believe in sex education in schools. I'm not opposed to that at all, not at all.
But we're talking about birth control.
Right. That too.
So, because we can have a conversation about sex education, and I also want to, at some point in time, have an adjunct. We don't even need to have a whole conversation about it, but just what is the fallout of taking a 14-year-old kid out of sex education class? Let me tell you, that kid's going to grow up with problems because they're going to be isolated by their friends, they're going to be bullied, they're going to be made fun of, they're going to feel humiliated, they're going to feel embarrassed. You will be doing your children an enormous harm in doing that, by the way, because they're going to get centered out for being, different. So, as a parenting, maybe don't do that. Maybe augment instead with your own information when the kid gets home. I don't know how it is that people don't understand that. Think about what's happening with your kid. Think about what the fallout is going to be for them. They're away from you for 8 hours a day with their friends at school. And they have a whole different community that they're living in that you are not included in. And when you stick your nose in and you affect change for them, you make statements about them based on what you're requiring them to do to please you, trust me, it's not going to go unnoticed by their kids, and it's not going to go unaffected by the community that your kid is living in. And that comes from not me being a parent, but me being a head shrinker for a long, long time, dealing with young people who had these kinds of issues. So there. Let's take it one step further. Let's say, and we're going to stick with evangelicals this time, and I think that we can probably isolate it to evangelicals. They are in science class and they're learning about Darwin. Or maybe they're in history class and they're learning about Darwin. And they're talking about evolution. They're talking about the origin of species. Maybe they're reading it. And mom and dad, nope, it's creationism or it's nothing. And I don't want my kid learning about that. What about that?
You're good. She's good. She's good.
These principles, you can expand them like way, way, way out there. And we have seen over the course of several generations, people complaining about things that they don't want their children taught in school, thinking that they know better and that they should impose their will on over top of the expertise of the educators. And this, in my opinion, is a cornerstone of that whole section about, identifying the liberals or the woke revolutionaries, as they call us, as being people who are willing and wanting to indoctrinate children as though it's an evil, manipulative, criminal thing. I want kids to be smart. I want them to have an education. I want them to not be stupid. It breaks my heart when I see these, videos of, talking to kids in the middle of Times Square, and they say, "Can you name me, the capital of whatever state?" And they can't do it. "Can you name me 3 countries other than the United States?" And they'll say, Virginia, I don't know, Cancun.
That's what my parents.
Yeah, I mean, just like absolutely dim, uneducated kids. I don't want to see uneducated kids. I certainly don't want to see uneducated parents, because that's what uneducated kids become.
Pushed to the wall, I have to side with the parents. I don't want to see dumb asses either. Pushed to the wall, I will go with the parents. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. These are all valid points.
It's an expression. No, I have to side with the parents. This is going to be, whoa, okay. Even if the parents are wrong, I'm sorry, I'm going to side with the parents. The parents are the parents. No one is as responsible for children as are the parents. Should that be the case? I don't know, but it is the case now as I see it. And unless we progress as a species beyond that, it is what it is right now. And I have to side with the parents. I don't want to see generations of kids brought up, I'm going to be very gentle here and say less ignorant than they should be. I don't want to see that. But in my heart, I side with the parents.
So in
Just
most,
have to.
I get it. In most school boards, is absolutely. In fact, I think it's probably federal law of some sort that you are allowed to take your children out whenever you don't want them to be in school. I don't think that there's any truancy laws about that. So leave it up to the parents to yank their kids out of a class, and leave it up to the parents to demand to be formally informed about what the curriculum is going to be on what days, and have a conversation with your educators, have a conversation with your school board, and for Christ's sakes, don't demand that the entire school board has to dance to your tune, by the way. People put together curriculum for a reason. They build these lesson plans for a reason, and they are the experts in terms of understanding how people learn, how they develop, and all that good stuff. So I'm with Stephen in terms of if you are that parent, yank your kid. Go ahead. I mean, if you think that they're not going to learn the next day about what they missed, you're stupid. But yeah, if you don't want them to be in that classroom, then yank them. See what happens.
It's possible that they're not stupid, just wrong. Isn't that possible?
It's possible. It's not likely.
Okay, gonna make a.
But just but to just tag on to that, if the parents don't ascribe to that transgenderism is a mental illness and it's not a viable thing, and we need to stamp that out, then talk to your kid about that when they get home. Have the conversation. Tell them why you feel that way. Explain to them again. I agree with you. These are the parents, and this has been, a burr under my saddle blanket forever, which is that parents leave all of the educational points up to schools. It's like communities leaving all of the problems of society up to police. They are not equipped to deal with all of this stuff. These are your children. Have a conversation with your children. Be actively involved in their education, as in talk to them about what they're learning. Don't go banging on the door of the school board. Don't be one of those people that like bitches and moans, and it looks like an ignoramus at a school board meeting. Talk to your kid. Your kid is the person that is actively involved in this, and your kid is the person that you have control and responsibility over. So maybe start at home rather than, going barreling down to, I don't want to see my kid be involved. They shouldn't have, drag queen story hour. Oh my God, that's another one just pisses me off. Oh my God, pisses me off so much.
Me too. I hate the idea of drag queens story hours.
Why? I like clowns.
I find
Kids
that
love it.
I find that so stupid and ridiculous.
Why?
It's for another time, not now. Mother of God, not at 4:44 or whatever. No, if I have a kid and someone and the kid, mommy, daddy, guess what? Drag queens. I'd say, sweetheart, you just take care of it. I'm going to call up Aunt George or whatever, and come take care of it. And I would march up to that library and I would say, you can expect that I will be protesting against this. I just find the idea of it disgusting.
Oh my God!
Absolutely
disgusting.
disgusting.
Know this.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we're gonna have drag queen, then what is wrong, or how is it different to have a guy come in a brown outfit, Nazi regalia all over, and teaching their story time about Nazism?
Well, for starters, drag queens aren't reading stories about drag queens, so there's that. They're like literally reading like
drag queens are drag queens. I love drag queens.
They're like clowns.
I love
Kids
drag queens. I love
them.
drag queens. I don't want my kids, if I had any, being told story time about drag queens. No,
I
no.
think it would. I think it's. I'm a huge supporter of it. I think
Yeah.
that it's wonderful because kids love it. It's a joyful thing. It's
Kids love
fun.
to. Kids love to eat. Kids would love to eat a half a gallon of ice cream, and you get sick and throw up. You know, they would love that too. I'm not sure we're
Well, they
gonna allow
probably won't
that.
do it twice.
Well, my kid ain't going to no drag queen twice.
It's good that neither one of us had
Yeah,
children, right?
that's yeah. No, that is
But
it.
compare it to a brown shirt coming to talk about Nazism. This again. That's being alarmist. It's propaganda.
I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way at all.
Drag queens are no different than a clown coming and reading stories to your
Oh,
children.
hello.
No different.
In case you all have forgotten,
it's an adult, all dressed
I
up
am
in a
gay,
ridiculous thing.
and I love drag queens, but oh my God,
So what? Okay, so let's unpack this just a little bit, okay? Because this is where, for me, this is where the rubber hits the road. Okay.
got it.
So you got to talk to me specifically about what your objection is. What is your objection? Why do you think it's wrong? And what do you think is the harm that is at risk for allowing a drag queen to read a storybook to children? In public, the full view of the librarian and whoever wants to be there, in a group of children.
Okay, I'm not
Talk
sure.
to me about the specifics of why you think this is wrong.
Okay, it is now for.
Oh, he's going to pull the time.
Yes,
That's
he is,
fine.
because I have a partner with dementia across the street and a cat who can't stay out past 5:45.
Okay.
So I have some validity on my side, in my opinion.
As we say, comma, and we'll come right back to this.
Okay.
So you'll have some time to think about it.
Okay, I can. I'd like to carry on right now. Ooh, wait. I'd like to carry on now. ... But probably I'm going to lose all of my oomph if I don't. But fuck my oomph. Pardon the French.
I'll stoke your oomph again.
She'll stoke.
I'm happy to stoke your oomph.
So
apparently I'm good at it.
Yeah, apparently yes. I'll let my oomph be stoked later. Right now, it's not that I ain't copping out. I got some good shit to say about this, but
I look forward to it.
But this is not the time. Sorry, it's just not enough time. Not enough time. Too late.
And on that note, we are making the point, and please do join us this Saturday if you happen to see this episode before then. And we're going to have a block party here in the 700 block of Pelican Avenue in Albert Point. Come. It's somebody's birthday, so there will be cake. And we hope that you click on subscribe and like and comment. Tell us what you think about this whole issue. I know that this is an enormous issue for this country. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Please
and,
comment.
We have lots and lots and lots of things to talk about.
We are not preaching to each other here. We are not we're not just chatting here. We're
having a conversation.
This is beyond just us. Please let us know, please.
And we look forward to it. À la prochaine.
À tout à l'heure.